Hey guys, I'm Finn and today we are going to be looking through our /IDOWorkHereLady. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Today's first post is about being nice to everyone, just because they might be your boss. Cast, Mimi, new receptionist NR. Backstory, I own a portfolio of 5 different businesses that have little in common with each other. They are all service-based and 3 of them are public-facing and in different areas of the state in which I live. Given that the businesses all operate under separate names, provide separate services, and are located in separate offices buildings I tend to allow the managers for each location hire clerical staff without me meeting them first. This largely works out to everyone's benefit as I don't have to drive several hours to approve a new receptionist, and it doesn't take time away from my staff with a new hire. One of my businesses happens to be involved with medical testing and is farthest from my home at about 3 hours away, so I only make trips out there if I have to. Shortly before COVID hit, I drove out the medical testing office to pick up some papers and to meet the new receptionist that had been hired a few days prior. I asked the manager in charge of that office to send me the new hire's name and some background info so I could introduce myself without not knowing anything about them. I pulled up to office around 5:45 p.m. and walked up to the check-in counter where the NR was sitting. Before I could say anything, let alone introduce myself, NR says, "We're about to close, so you need to come back later." I thought NR was joking and I kind of chuckled and waited for NR to laugh too. NR said, "Are you a crackhead or something?" I said, "We're closed." While I try to keep in mind that I don't know what is going on in someone's life to cause them to be in a bad mood, I also don't want NR or any of my staff to speak to anyone in that manner. This is the conversation between NR and I that followed. Me, "Do you speak to customers that way?" NR, "Yeah, when you people come in late like you own the place." Me, "I do." NR, "You do what?" Me, "I own this place." NR scoffs. Me, "Shows badge that states I'm the owner." Me, "I'd like to see you in my office now." NR's eyes got very wide as she watched me swipe my badge, thus unlocking the door that leads from the lobby to the staff area. I passed the manager's office and told her to follow me to my office, which she did. The manager, NR, and I sat down in my office and I explained the situation to the manager. I then explained to NR that our office gets people from all walks of life and in all types of situations, and that I don't tolerate any of my staff speaking to people in such a manner when they are representing my business. I asked the manager to draft termination papers while I had a final check made out to NR. When we settled all the formalities of firing NR, I handed her the check, which she grabbed out of my hand and tried to storm out of the building. However, by the time we finished it was past 6:00 p.m., which is when the office closes and the front door automatically locks and requires an employee badge to unlock. As such, when NR tried to open the door it was locked, and when she tried to swipe her badge the little red light just blinked because her badge was no longer active. The manager ended up having to swipe her badge to let NR out, to which NR mumbled thanks and then left. In today's second story, a worker thinks OP is impersonating himself. The story of karma revenge against a very angry woman in a chip shop. I posted this on another sub but was directed here as a cross post and thought you might enjoy this story too. TLDR at the bottom. This one takes place on a late afternoon shift just before the dinner rush, so we had a manager and 2 servers and including myself. An important note for this story is that I used to have my hair dyed a bright blue color for a lot of my time working at the shop, but I had recently dyed it back to natural brown as I was making uni applications, and it was generally seriously high maintenance when you had to wash it every day as the color ran out way too fast. So we're all going about our business, taking orders and getting ready for the dinner rush. This lady comes in with her kids. Now she's a regular, not a friendly regular, but we typically see her a few times a week. I take her order and my colleague starts making up her food. As I'm packing it up she seems annoyed. So I ask if everything is up with the order, as I am concerned I've made a mistake and would rather rectify it then and there. She sighs and tells me that it's fine, but she misses having her hair taken by the girl with the blue hair, as she was much faster and politer than me, and asked me if she still worked there and what days she works. My service has not changed. I'm still doing my job the same as usual. The only difference is my dyed hair. I am also the only one with unnatural colored hair, so she is definitely talking about me. Now, as well as being able to tell from my face, as most of our hair is covered by a hat anyway, who I am. We also wear name tags. Our names come up on the register when we take orders, and they print on the receipts as a way of identifying who took an order in the event of a problem. So I say, Thank you so much for the compliment. That's actually me. I've just dyed my hair, but I appreciate the comments on my service this time and will try to improve. I've got another 7 hours left on this shift. I am super polite, as the last thing I want is for this woman to kick off right before the dinner rush when I'm still stuck here all night. She goes nuts, telling me that I am committing fraud, that she is going to have me fired and possibly arrested, and even tried to rope my colleague into admit I'm lying, at which point they slip out back to locate the manager who was cooking. How could I claim that I, with my TERRIBLE service, is the lovely girl who usually served her? Her kids are there also, trying to insist I'm clearly the same person, but she just keeps pushing them out the way and yelling that Mummy is handling this. I do not have the energy for this shit. I try apologizing. I even offer her a free drink for the inconvenience just to get her out of the store. She's not having it and asks for my manager. He has been standing at the back with my coworker, literally pissing himself with laughter at this woman for the last 2 minutes, but puts on his customer service face and comes over. She starts demanding I'm fired. He just lets her rant for a while, then asks if she happens to have a receipt from a previous transaction with the girl she wanted to be served by. She pulls one out of her bag triumphantly, literally with a flourish, thinking she's got her way and proved me to be the scoundrel she thinks I am. It has my name at the top, clear as day. He points to my name tag and has her read out the name on the receipt and the name on the tag. She gets super flustered, but is way too far gone now to admit her mistake. Starts claiming I've stolen someone else's tag and that she'll have me arrested for identity theft. My manager at that point is totally done and tells her to get out and don't come back without a better attitude. For the next 9 months I worked there, as we're the best only fast food place in the local area. She stands outside sending her very embarrassed kids in twice a week so they can get still a takeaway. And, of course, it's England in the winter. It rains a lot or TLDR, until mother accuses me of identity theft. Gets proved wrong. Has to stand out in the rain for the next 9 months so she can still get takeaway food. And now is tonight's final story. In the early 90s I was working at a cab company in a small city. Names have been changed. Our terminal was located in the middle of the block with the lot running from the alley in the rear to the street out front. We had parking for cabs up front and along one side, with 2 lanes for cabs in service. Pulled onto the lot from the alley and always pulled forward onto the street. Cabs were dispatched out in the order they arrived at the lot. City ordinance was if we weren't actively going to get or had passengers, we were not allowed on the street. Yes, my city is a bit odd in some aspects. It was a bit of a slow day. When I get to the lot, there are 3 cars there already. Just after I pull in and stop, a guy in a brand new caddy pulls in next to me, and he is on his cell phone. At this time, cell phones were fairly rare. Another driver pulls in behind me, and the shift manager pulled in behind the caddy and stopped. We had all got out of our cars and were chatting about various events. The manager, referred to as Bob, was still by his car, watching the guy in the caddy. Just as soon as the Ian in the caddy got off the phone, he starts honking his horn and screaming to move the cabs out of his way. We look at Bob and he just shakes his head no. The Ian is screaming worse now, telling us how important he is, and that we were stopping him from getting to a meeting that involved $1 million project. We looked at Bob, and he explained to the Ian that it was a private lot, and he should have paid attention to where he was going. The guy yelled at Bob, "It's an ollie." Bob told him, "Since when does an ollie have a gas pump on it?" and pointed to the pump we used to fill up after shift. The guy started yelling he was going to call the police, and that he knew the chief. The owner of the company was a retired chief of detectives law. Ian was told that had he acted reasonably, which he had not, that we would have moved our cabs out of his way. But, since he wanted to be an ass, we gave him an attitude adjustment. My boss told him that since we leave the lot in the order we arrived, he would have to wait his turn. He grumpily said ugh, not knowing what we were fairly sure would happen on a beautiful day, which was not much. By the time he found himself in a position to be able to leave, he had been waiting for 2 hours. He missed his meeting.